My selfish husband demanded all the property and walked away from our innocent child, so I happily signed everything over, because the fool had no idea I had already secured the real money in a secret legal trust for my beloved son. My name is Renee Carlson. I am 34 years old, and at 2:47 that afternoon in courtroom 3 of Ironwood County, Michigan, my husband Caleb Venter stood before the judge and said, "I want the house, both cars, the 401k, everything. You can keep the kid. I'm not doing school drop-offs." The words hung in the courtroom like stale air that hadn't moved in years. I felt the pulse in my hands before I felt anything else. The veins tightened. My fingers went pale. I gripped the manila file in front of me so hard the cardboard edges bent under my nails. Our son Nolan was 9 years old. He was sitting outside on a wooden bench in the hallway, swinging his legs and twisting the laces on his sneakers. He didn't know that inside that room his father had just chosen a house over him. My attorney, Hugh Montgomery, leaned toward me and whispered, "Renee, we can fight this. His numbers don't hold up. We can win." I sat up straighter than I felt. "No, Hugh," I said. "Give him everything." The ceiling fan hummed above us. I could hear a clerk flipping pages somewhere to my left. Caleb smiled. Not a nervous smile. A satisfied one. Like a man who had just negotiated a deal he thought was clever. He had no idea the real money had never been in that house. Before I take you any further, pause for a second. If this story hits somewhere personal, tap like. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is there. I read every comment. Now let me take you back 3 years. It was 6:14 in the morning when the first crack appeared. 3 years earlier we lived in Maple Falls, Montana in the River Bluff neighborhood. It wasn't fancy. Wide streets. Mailboxes that leaned a little to the left. Lawns that were mowed every Saturday whether anyone had the energy or not. We were renovating a 520-square-foot basement. Concrete dust clung to the air. The smell of damp wood mixed with fresh insulation. Caleb swung a hammer like he owned the world. "I'm a forensic accountant." Caleb used to laugh when he said it. "You just live in spreadsheets, Renee. Real money's made by men who take risks." He said it like a joke. But it wasn't. Christmas 2019, his parents were over. His sister, Dana, brought her usual casserole that tasted like too much salt and regret. Nolan was 6 then, building a Lego set on the rug. Caleb stood near the tree and announced, "Renee makes $92,000 a year. My bonus alone beat that." Everyone chuckled. I spooned green bean casserole onto my plate. The aluminum pan was still hot. I burned the tip of my finger and didn't react. In 2020, Nolan woke up at 2:11 a.m. wheezing. We drove 14 miles to St. Agnes Regional Hospital. The emergency room smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. The bill came to $2,740. Caleb dropped the receipt on the kitchen counter the next morning. "You picked the wrong insurance plan." Like always. I stood there holding a mug I never drank from. The coffee went cold while he talked. I spent the next 47 minutes in the basement. Concrete under my bare feet. I pressed my palm flat against the wall and counted my breaths. I told myself Nolan just needs stability. Nolan just needs time. March 2021. I saw a transfer on our joint account. $42,380. Memo line, Strategic Partnership Fund. I asked him at 7:32 p.m. while he was cutting steak. "What's this?" He didn't look up. "You wouldn't understand. Big people take big risks." There it was again. "You wouldn't understand." But I did. I've spent 11 years reading numbers like other people read faces. I can see where money moves. I can smell a lie the way you smell burnt wiring behind drywall. That same year, late October. It was 11:03 p.m. Nolan was asleep. I was halfway up the stairs when I heard Caleb in his office. "She won't fight," he said into the phone. "She never fights. That's the beauty of it, Brax." I froze. The wood creaked under my foot. "I'll take everything. Let her keep the kid. She'll be satisfied." He laughed. A low, confident sound. That night I sat at the kitchen table at 12:14 a.m. My laptop open. I typed, "Irrevocable trust for minor in Montana." If you're still with me, tell me something in the comments. Has anyone ever underestimated you so completely it felt like they were looking straight through you? 2 weeks later I met Eleanor Pritchard. She was 70. Retired estate attorney. White hair always pulled into a loose bun. She had known my grandmother before she passed in 2018. We sat in Hudson Bay Cafe. The booths were cracked vinyl. The coffee tasted like it had been reheated twice. "Renee," she said, stirring sugar she didn't need, "men like that don't see what they don't value." She looked at me over her glasses. "Your strength is numbers. His weakness is ego. If he wants everything, give it to him. Just protect what he can't see." On April 12, 2022, at exactly 10:08 a.m., I signed the documents. Irrevocable trust. Beneficiary, Nolan Venter. Trustee, Renee Carlson. Initial funding, $1,940,000. Where did it come from? My grandmother's inheritance. My private investment accounts. Dividends I had reinvested for 104 consecutive months. Consulting work I did on the side after Nolan went to sleep. A cybersecurity firm in Ohio that hired me quietly for fraud analysis. Small pieces carefully placed. Caleb thought our net worth was the house, 2 vehicles, and a joint checking account that hovered around $18,000 most months. He never once asked about my personal accounts. He never once logged into them. He didn't think I was capable of building anything worth checking. For 8 months I gathered documents, statements, deeds, separate property disclosures. I met Eleanor 3 times. Once at her office. Once at my house while Caleb was on a business trip. Once in a Walmart parking lot because she said privacy sometimes mattered more than comfort. "Stay soft," she told me. "Let him think he's ahead." February 2023. Caleb threw a party. He invited 6 friends. Beer cans. Loud music. He stood in the living room and said, "Divorce will be final soon. House is mine." Nolan was outside building a snowman in the front yard. It was 19 degrees. His nose red. He waved at me through the window. I said, "We'll see." The court date arrived in October. The courthouse in Ironwood County smells like old paper and floor polish. The walls are beige. The chairs hard plastic. The judge asked, "Ms. Carlson, do you agree to transfer the 2019 Chevy Tahoe, the 2021 Ford Bronco, and all jointly held assets to Mr. Venter?" "Yes." Hugh squeezed my arm. "You're sure?" "Yes." Caleb's attorney smiled like he'd just wrapped up an easy closing argument. "Then this matter is resolved." Eleanor stood. She adjusted her glasses slowly. "Your Honor, clarification. Ms. Carlson's personal assets are excluded from this agreement." Caleb frowned. "What assets?" Eleanor slid a folder across the table. April 12, 2022 Trust. Beneficiary, Nolan Venter. Trustee, Renee Carlson. Funded at $1,940,000. Additional investment accounts totaling $710,000. All separate property. The courtroom shifted. The judge reviewed the documents. "These assets are not marital property." Caleb turned toward me. "What is this?" "The part you never bothered to ask about." His attorney flipped pages quickly. "This is all from her separate income?" "Yes," Eleanor said. Caleb's own words had built this moment. He never valued my income. Never claimed it as joint. Never monitored it. He signed tax returns listing my consulting revenue separately. He had insisted on it. His ego created the legal wall that protected me. Outside the courthouse, he said through clenched teeth, "You made me look like a fool." I looked at him and said, "No. You did that yourself." After that, reality settled in. The house payment was $3,050 a month. Property taxes were $6,800 annually. The strategic partnership fund collapsed 9 months later. The company dissolved. He lost the $42,380 and then some. His friends stopped coming around as often. One night at 9:22 p.m. he showed up at my door. "I've been thinking," he said. "We could try again." The porch light buzzed above him. Moths tapped against the glass. I opened the door halfway. Nolan stood behind me. "We're fine," I said. I closed the door gently. It's been a year. Nolan and I live in a smaller house near the edge of Maple Falls. 4 oak trees line the yard. I planted them myself. My hands smelled like soil for days afterward. Nolan put $60 a week into a savings jar. I show him how compound interest works. He likes numbers. He says they feel honest. Sometimes at 6:14 in the morning when I'm making coffee I think about that courtroom. About the moment he chose everything but his son. That choice was real. No legal document forced it. No trick. No trap. He said it. Out loud. And that's what I carry with me. Not anger. Clarity. I didn't lose everything. I only gave away what was never truly mine to begin with. And every time I see Nolan at the kitchen table, pencil in hand, whispering numbers to himself like they're secrets only he understands, I know exactly who won.